Okay, hello again. Welcome to your opportunity partner. My name is Professor Art Gogatz, and I'm your host for this series. Today, we're going to talk about brainstorming, and we're going to talk about it in relation to what we discussed last time, which is basically an ideationist, because brainstorming is all about idea generation. Now, brainstorming is an old tool. In fact, research not very long ago has shown that 75% of business people say they brainstorm. I mean, when I go into and do some consulting for companies, which I do quite often, they always brainstorm. They always say they will. I always just say, okay, it's going to be a meeting where they're going to try to come up with some ideas. Um, Brainstorming is not really considered to be that successful because the results are very inconsistent. And today we're going to look at why, and I'm going to give you a way to improve any brainstorming meeting. But before we do, please, if you can, subscribe to the channel, like it, leave a comment if you can. This is a new channel, it's a young channel, and we do appreciate if you can subscribe to it and tell your friends and orbit and families about the channel. Okay, the last video we talked about ideationists. Ideationists are professional idea generators. That's what they do. They come up with ideas. They are always giving you new analysis, new information, new content. Most people just give you a few. Ideationists are trained to tell you what is going on, what can be changed, good at analysis, and good at coming up with good ideas on almost anything. Okay, brainstorming. Most of the time, I would say, most brainstorming that I've seen and I've participated in the last few years, no matter what country we're in, it doesn't really work. Why? Well, one main reason is the people who are in a brainstorming session are not really qualified to generate ideas. They're people who work for the company, their staff, most of the time they're managers, they're upper level people. They don't let the frontline people into a brainstorming session because it's a meeting. Okay, so you have a certain level of people within the company, and they're in there in a meeting room, and they're given a certain amount of time, usually not very long. Why? Because business people prioritize doing things quickly, putting a time frame around everything. And so they don't have enough time to do this, and they don't have the right people to do this. This is the bottom line. I'll tell you why. Brainstorming goes back to 1950s, New York City, and a advertising agency, very good advertising agency called BBDO. I know, I worked for them. And BBDO is Batten, Martin, Durston, and Osborne. Now, this process, this idea of having brainstorming was the brainchild of Alex Osborne, and that was the O in BBDO. And he wanted a way that his creative department, that's important, his creative people could come up with ideas for ads. Now, I've worked in that. I worked as an art director in advertising, and I've been involved with coming up for ideas for ads. So I know what this is all about. These people are usually have one or two kinds of background, fine arts or writing. They're not just business people. They're people who are working in business, but their main training is art or the arts, because if we put writing into it, you have art director who is in charge of the concept and the visual image, and then you have the copywriter who's in charge equally of the concept for the ad, but the written word. Now, this process that Osborne came up with has 4 parts to it. And the 4 parts, 2 parts are very simple, and 2 parts are not simple at all. The parts that are simple is we need to get as many ideas as possible. Therefore, you're looking at quantity versus quality. You're not worrying about, does it work? Does it make any sense? Is it going to be good or bad? You are just trying to collect as many ideas as you can. Okay. Second thing, because it's done in a group, it's not done alone, you can build on somebody's ideas, which means if somebody says something, you can say, oh, well, that reminds me of that. And you can say, therefore, okay, come up with a different idea. So you can help each other to build and inspire different ideas and concepts. Those are the 2 easy rules of brainstorming. Now, there are 2 rules which are difficult. What? Don't judge any of the ideas. That's difficult because we judge all the time, almost automatically. We judge everything. You like it, you don't like it. Even when people say how they are, you say good or bad, that's a judgment. We judge almost as easily as we breathe. Sure. So you have to not judge any of the ideas. Okay. And the last of the 4 is probably the most difficult. In fact, it is the most difficult. And what's the last one? All ideas are valid, necessary, and useful. All, which means ideas that are crazy, radical, disgusting, different, anything. Most people have a hard time with that. Why? They self-censor themselves. Students in class, when I ask me a question, they don't. Why? They want to ask an intelligent question. When you're in a business meeting, you are worried about your image. Now, artists are not very worried about their image. Most people in a brainstorming session, they come up with a few ideas. Artists are trained to come up with a lot of ideas. When I ask a class to do a drawing as an exercise when I teach creativity, the students come up with 1. Maybe if I push them, they can do 2. Same thing when I ask for ideas. 1, 2. Same thing when I ask for solutions to a problem. Of just a couple. Picasso, famous artist, by his own admission, used to do 2,000 drawings a day. How many would he throw away? 2,000. They would just practice. Same thing with anybody who does sports. You have to practice hours and hit lots of different shots. It's just practice. Most business people are not used to being asked for ideas. They're not good at it. You didn't hire them for it. And the results in brainstorming using your own business people, your own staff, don't work. They're not capable of it. At BBDO, when they did this originally back in the 1950s, they were amazingly successful at it. They came up with thousands of good ideas. Why? Because their people were good at generating ideas. They were idea professionals. They were, to a large degree, ideationists, because the whole purpose of when you are working in advertising is to come up with an idea for the ad. Then, of course, you do the execution and you do it, but it's the idea which is the most difficult. Most business people are not used to, they're not asked for any ideas. It's not something they are good at. Now, there's one other thing which is really important, which is you get, and this is what Osborne at BBDO also said, don't have the same people judge the ideas, evaluate the ideas eventually. Because once you collect them all, you have to then evaluate them, which ones could be good, which ones will we go with, which ones will we discard. Okay, he said, don't have the same people who came up with the ideas, evaluate them. Use other people. Most companies don't do that. In brainstorming sessions, they ask the people who are there, the managers, give me some ideas. They come up with some, and then those are the same people who evaluate them and say, this is good, this is bad eventually. Well, people try to promote their own ideas. But the main thing is everyone has a self-censor. Everyone wants to impress the boss. No one wants to come up with said, oh, that idea is stupid. Oh, that idea is radical. Oh, wow, you're strange. You're like, ooh, wow, because that's a strange idea. Everyone then comes up with, in a brainstorming session, tame, palatable, acceptable, doable, money-making ideas. That's maybe what you want. But first, you've got to be able to go through all of these other ideas in order to say they don't work. This one works. There's a good statement says, in order to know the limits of the possible, you have to go to the impossible and come back. And that's true. You've got to come up with the radical, crazy, turn everything upside down, inside out ideas in order to know that this idea is the best one. You've got to come up with a lot, which means you need ideationists. You need idea generating professionals for your brainstorming session. And don't mix them with your normal staff. Just use these professionals. That's what BBO did, and that's why they were successful. Now, a lot of people, when they do brainstorming, they bring in an outside facilitator. Well, what's that really mean? Outside facilitator is somebody who is good at getting you to talk, getting you to express yourself, getting you to try to think of something. Okay, it's an animator. But is it somebody who is really an ideationist? Is it somebody who is an idea-generating machine? No. It's a regular business person who's good at getting you to talk and to relax. Professionals don't need to relax. It's the same thing with sports. You have amateurs and you have professionals. An amateur, take any sport, I don't care what it is, football, tennis, golf. An amateur hits a good shot occasionally. A professional hits a bad shot occasionally. It's a big difference. Well, the same thing is with idea generation. Anybody can come up with a good idea. Oh, Saturday night, have a couple of drinks and oh, I got a good idea. How many? One. How often? Professionals, that's what they do. They come up with good ideas. But in order to get a good idea, you have to have a lot and throw them away. That's a quote from a former Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Pauling, who basically said that. This is true. You need to express yourself. You need to always be in the way of saying what you think. Most people don't say what they think. They suppress most of what they think. They suppress most of their good ideas. You go into a meeting. What are you going to do? You're guarded. You're careful. You're not you. A good brainstorming meeting uses ideationists. It uses idea professionals. Now, why don't companies do this? Because they don't trust people from outside. They want to use their own people. But your own people are amateurs at idea generation. Yes, they may know the topic, but what you need are people who can look at the topic from outside and look at it from different points of view. This is creativity. This is consulting. What is the value of a consultant? They go into a company. Peter Drucker, famous German consultant, who said, my worth as a consultant is to go into a company, look around, and ask some stupid questions. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why is that happening? People in the company are too close to it, and they're too scared to say anything. They're too scared to challenge anything. They're just playing it safe. What you need in idea generation are professionals who come from outside, who don't care that they say something radical, who don't care that they're going to be, oh, no, that's bad. You can't say that. You can't do that. No rules in idea generation. That's right. No rules. That's what you need. This is what ideationists are working in. They are professionals at generating ideas. It's the career and profession of the future. There are some companies today who are hiring people who are ideationists, but it's not really that well established yet. It will be because of AI. Now, we're going to pick up on this a little bit in some future sessions, but if you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe to the channel, and I do hope to see you on a future episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.